Every October, we celebrate the feeling of fear.
Boo!
So on this October night, let's talk about fear. What is fear? What have different philosophers said about fear? And why do some people enjoy feeling fear? I'm looking at you, Five Nights at Freddy's fan base. Let's find out. Aristotle, throughout his career, tried to give us a better understanding of fear as an emotion. In his book Rhetoric, he defines fear as the painful feeling we get when we imagine a future harmful evil. It makes sense that fear is a forward-looking emotion. We don't fear the past. We fear what's to come, so fear is a product of our absurd and unpredictable world. To further develop our understanding of fear, Aristotle also took to defining courage. If I tell you to picture a courageous person, who do you think of and what are their behaviors? Maybe you're thinking of a soldier or a superhero or that one person at your family Christmas dinner who always likes to share their incredibly controversial opinions with everyone at the table. Keep this person in mind while we define courage. In Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle says that true courage is striking the balance between cowardice and rashness. Cowardice is having too much fear, so shying away from all challenges. And rashness is having a deficiency of fear, so putting yourself in harm's way for no good reason. According to Aristotle, the truly courageous person is someone who can face their fears and do something valiant, but also knows when to protect their peace and themselves. Does the person you thought of earlier match Aristotle's definition of courage? Let me know in the comments because I'm curious to hear. Anyway, the point for Aristotle is that sometimes a little bit of fear can be good. It can stop us from doing reckless things. So feeling fear is appropriate and necessary, and sometimes even virtuous. But Aristotle wasn't the only philosopher who appreciated the importance of fear. Other philosophers, like Thomas Hobbes, thought fear was necessary, though Hobbes felt that fear was necessary for a different reason than Aristotle. He thought fear was necessary for a political reason. In his book The Leviathan, Hobbes argues that it's our fear of death which makes us want to seek peace and live with other humans. The reason mankind created laws and sought communities was for protection. Hobbes believed that in a state of nature, that is, a world without any laws, governments, or institutions, humans would turn against each other and kill each other. So to Hobbes, if it wasn't for our fear of death, we wouldn't want to seek peace with others or live in societies. To him, fear is the glue that holds mankind together. Now, not all philosophers were in favor of fear. Let's look at some philosophers who thought we'd be better off without it. The Stoics argued that feeling fear is something we can learn to control and even get rid of entirely. But how, you may well ask? By always assuming the worst. That's literally what they said. If we spend time thinking about every possible thing that could go wrong and plan out how we can rationally respond to or avoid these situations, then we'll diminish the feeling of fear. Yeah! As Aristotle said, fear is future focused. It's instilled by the unpredictable. So the Stoic solution is to make the future predictable by mentally rehearsing it. Another philosopher, Epicurus, felt that a lot of mankind's fears were empty fears. That is, fearing things that don't really need fearing. He specifically spoke of the fear of death. To Epicurus, it is silly to fear death, for we won't actually experience it. As simple as it sounds, we won't know we're dead, so why be afraid of it? He's like, don't worry about death because you'll be dead. Philosophy. While Epicurus wasn't as extreme as the Stoics in wishing to dissolve all fear, he did feel we'd be more tranquil and better off if we cleansed ourselves from these empty fears. I think what the Stoics and Epicurus were also hinting at was the difference between fears and anxieties. To me, it reads as though they're talking about dissolving anxieties, not fears. Other philosophers have also distinguished between these two feelings, so let's see what the professionals had to say about this. Kierkegaard, in The Concept of Anxiety, distinguishes between fear, which is being afraid of something specific, from anxiety and dread, which is being afraid of nothing in particular. I fear that I won't get tickets for Radiohead's 2025 tour, but I'm not feeling anxiety or dread over the matter. supposedly. So when and why do we feel anxiety and dread? Kierkegaard says we feel this way when we think about all of our responsibilities and possibilities in life. We start feeling what he called the dizziness of freedom. We're thinking of the future and all that's to come and the unpredictable nature of it. That's when we feel anxiety and dread. The point is, not all fear is about danger. Sometimes we can feel fear over topics like freedom and how to live our lives. From covering all of these philosophers, I feel like we have a pretty good understanding of what fear is. But why do we go as far as to celebrate it? Why do we enjoy haunted houses and horror films and big scary roller coasters with massive drops that make us think we're going to die and scary costumes? Aristotle said that experiencing fear is a form of catharsis. Environments that promote fear but are ultimately silly and safe, like haunted houses, are almost like an emotional training ground for us. It helps us healthily process and understand our own emotions. Similarly, that's why we enjoy watching tragedy. We experience these emotions in a controlled environment and familiarize ourselves with them, which makes us feel more calm in the long run. Kant says we might enjoy experiencing fear because it reminds us of our rational superiority above nature. When we're on a roller coaster and we're about to experience a massive drop, we might feel fear, but we also know that we're going to be just fine. So we don't feel pleasure in fear itself, but in the knowledge of the fact that we're above fear. It is the ability to reason and fight instincts which sets us apart from animals after all. And so to Kant, a reminder of that is what gives us pleasure. Or finally, perhaps we enjoy things like monsters because of the deeper fears that they represent. We're not afraid of werewolves because they're werewolves. Rah. We're afraid of werewolves because they show us what we'd be like without the ability to reason, what we'd look like in our truly animalistic state. Row. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, that was too weird. Too weird. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I have a whole video on the philosophy of monsters coming out next week, so stay tuned. So maybe fear isn't all bad. Embrace the terror of Halloween and try to learn from the things that frighten you. See you next week. Bye!